Welcome to ADHD Friendly. I am Patty. I am an ADHD coach, and my passion is bringing ADHD friendly tools to this podcast to share with you in the hopes that they help you to thrive with ADHD, because that's what everything I do is focused on, is looking for ways that I can thrive. And I know that we only thrive when we do things our way. So I share my way, and I always ask you to take what works for you, leave the rest behind so that you can thrive your way. All right. Into this episode. It is episode 130. That means it's a personal owner's manual focused episode, a POM, P-O-M. And so that means that the main topic today will be focused on that. So I'll be talking about what are your strengths for that POM tool. I'm going to be talking about how to start a way of capturing your own strengths. But before I do that, I start as I always do with a celebration, and then I'm going to share an ADHD friendly tool this week. But let's start with the celebration. So first, subscriber celebration. Becca, have you checked?
I haven't checked since last time, but I bet it went up.
It did. It did. I'm so excited. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So we're just going to move the 10s, but Becca, we're going to move the 10s.
What? No.
3 places. I know.
That's
so we're
incredible.
up to 766 subscribers
on
YouTube. Welcome. Thank you. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. And for those of you who had posted, I had some posts giving me some feedback that I asked for, sharing some ideas and just comments on some past episodes that people, kind of went back and checked out. So thank you so much for all of that engagement with my YouTube channel, ADHD Friendly. If you're listening to this, I invite you to check it out if you want to see any of the visuals I share, because I do tend to hold up and, kind of visually share a lot of the things I'm talking about, like I'm going to do right now. Becca, I'm going to go into my celebration. Don't let me forget my big celebration.
Got it.
But I'm going to start with 2 little things I wanted to check in on before I dive into the celebration. And the first is, I've been struggling, I mentioned this on a previous podcast, with what to do with my nails in a way I can tolerate keeping them looking decent, because I stopped going and having them done. I was doing the gel, the no chip gel. They raised their prices. And I'm not opposed to people making the money that they need to make to keep their businesses in order, but it was up high enough that I was like, I just can't. It made it a really easy decision for me just to stop. It took months for my nails to grow out so that they weren't damaged anymore. I went to press on the
stickies, right?
Yeah, and I'm finding I just don't love them the way I thought I did. It's really interesting because I thought I loved them, but they always leave little wrinkles on the sides that I can see. And I know people can't see them from a distance, but they drive me nuts.
Crazy.
And no matter what I do, I can't keep them from wrinkling. So then I went to just painting them myself. They last about 2 or 3 days. I'm having a hard time keeping up with that. So I will be sharing an update in a future episode that I'm hoping will be a new ADHD friendly favorite thing.
I love that.
That my screen is now bursting with celebratory things. I don't know if that's going to be on the video. That's annoying as all heck if it is, because I didn't ask for that. Please don't give me things, AI, that I didn't ask for. It was very distracting, but I ordered my own gel kit with the little nail, and I'm going to do them myself and see if I can do them without damaging my nail bed as much. And keep up with it without paying. It was going up to about $50 every time I got my nails done. I'm like, I can't do
I'm excited.
$50 for nail cure. So
good.
Yeah. So we'll see. But that's my little this is what's coming. So I'll be sharing information on that soon. So that's a thumbs up, that I keep finding ways to move forward. And I got a thumbs down for this time. And it's so funny because it's something that I love. Have you, Becca, seen these?
The gummy clusters.
Yeah, the Nerds gummy clusters. So I'm holding this up.
It's similar to the Nerds rope, but just
I've never had the Nerds rope.
Okay,
so
it's the same thing. It's just in a convenient little cluster instead of the rope.
They had these as a sample at I think it was Sam's Club.
Okay.
Probably 2 months ago, I want to say.
Yeah.
Sampled them. I've never done hard drugs, guys. It's just not my thing. It is the closest I can equate my experience to being like crack. I think of these things all the time. And I'm not a candy person.
No,
I don't like nerds in general. I don't like, and I'm like, I don't know what they do.
Don't know what's in these.
I don't know, but just the fact, like I literally bought my husband, I got him a little Easter basket this year because he broke his arm and he was recovering from surgery to fix his little arm. And I gave him a little Easter basket and I bought like the bag of them.
Yeah. Like the resealable.
And once he opened them, I was like, can I spit in this bag? Like, I was like, I need to destroy these. So I'm not remotely tempted to go eat them. And we finally gave them to my daughter. I was like, take them away. And if I see them, I will spit in the bag and throw it away so that you'll never like want to touch them again. But I bought this little box that I kept in here at my podcast corner. Yeah. So it was out of sight, kind of out of mind. Oh,
you're like, no,
that didn't work with the out of mind. And so I'm sharing that there's still a few, there's still a few in here. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I think of them all the time. It's really disturbing to me.
That you have an obsession right now.
I think it's the level of sugar that I'm like, oh, that's what I'm like, oh. But I'm giving it a thumbs down because I think there's got to be something going on. First of all, good for you nerds, because I know no doubt you're making money hand over fist.
Yes.
But thumbs down for people with a sweet tooth like me. Like nothing I've ever experienced am I thinking about these things. Oh my gosh. So I'm giving it a thumbs down because I can't resist them. And that it's getting in the way of my eating healthy and like managing, how much, like a little treat. It's not a little treat. It's an overindulgence, and I'm feeling guilt and I can't walk enough the rest of the day.
Teeth when you start eating too much.
It's all bad. It's bad in so many ways that there's no recovering for me from it. So they need to go. I should
go. Yeah. We're done with you, nerds.
They're going in the trash. There. Okay. Can't believe I just did that. I have such a hard time throwing out food. Okay.
But no, that's different.
Nobody in my house needs to eat that.
No.
All right. So on to my second part of my celebration. I told Becca, I'm like, I'm going to have to share these things because they're so a friend of my mind. My nails and the nerds. Got to share it. Have to let everybody know. Okay. If you have comments, please share them. Episode 130. If you want to try to change my mind, I'd love to hear another perspective. Or if you also notice, like, what is going on? What did they do to those?
What's
okay.
in those?
I don't know. Because I'm a chocolate girl. Like, I don't like the candy.
Yeah. Chocolate girl.
Free sample. Not always nothing's free. Let's be honest. Nothing's free. Okay. So here's the second celebration. Becca, when this episode airs, because you guys know I record these about 2 weeks in advance because it works for my brain to keep up with them with more ease with that schedule. When this airs, it is knocking on the door of the anniversary of the day that I incorporated my business. So I was coaching before because I had different hats. I was a professional organizer and I started coaching when I was doing my coach training underneath that umbrella.
Yeah.
And so I'm counting this only from the time I formally submitted the papers to form my LLC for this business around coaching. And that anniversary is coming up. It's on April 22nd. So I am offering only on April 22nd, that one day, which I believe is Monday. It is a 1 day, all day, 50% off everything in the ADHD friendly shop that I've created.
Oh my
God. So if it's an ADHD friendly created product that I made and it's in there, you get 50% off. So that's the course that I have in there. There are some new tools that I am putting in there in the coming weeks that I hope to have available for sale at that point. The ADHD friendly planner is in there. 1 day only. Shop 50% off. The coupon code is 50 April 22. So that's 50 APRIL 22. Becca will have that flash up on the screen too. So yeah, I'm hoping to do that every year. And as the shop grows with more and more things, hopefully the value grows. So that's my hope. But I'm at least doing it this year. So happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary.
All right. Now for my ADHD friendly. This is actually a tip. I said tool, I meant tip. Okay. So my tip is I was doing for my membership community ADHD friendly. You want to check it out, ADHDfriendly.com. See, I'm always like, I don't want to push things, but I do want you to know what's out there to support you. So if you want to check it out and get some more information about what's included, I invite you to do that. But we were talking about nutrition, and that was our focus for the month of March. And we talked about meal planning. And I know that that is something that a lot of us struggle with. And it's something that I always struggled with. And before I ever knew I had ADHD, I had 4 kids. I struggled so much with figuring out, like, I swear, like I used to always say, like, what's for dinner was like an absolute trigger for me.
Yeah.
What's for dinner? I'm like, oh my gosh. And immediately was like connecting me with this. I should be able to answer that question. I should know what's for dinner.
What is for dinner?
And I should have a plan
Yeah.
for what's for dinner, but I never did. And it always drained me. And it was like right after lunch, like the rest of the day, it was always like, and if it was a day, I used to have coffee with my neighbors once a week on Wednesdays, and they'd always be talking about what was in the crock pot or what they were throwing.
Yeah.
And I was always just was like trying to change the topic because I didn't want them to ask me.
Right.
And so it was really, and it was embarrassing because I had all these kids running around and I'm like, breakfast for dinner. That was like my go-to.
Love breakfast for
I know,
dinner.
but it's embarrassing when it's like pretty much every night.
No.
So I was like, well, we did waffles last night. We're doing scrambled eggs tonight. Like it was like, you know, there's lots of ways to do breakfast for dinner, but I digress. So what I realized was somebody else was talking about the challenges that they have with planning, and, you know, kind of related to that, I have to plan, which we will resist because it feels like work and we have to make decisions. And what if we're not good at cooking? Then what? Like, what are our options?
Right.
So we talked about, kind of came to this brainstorming session of what are some things that would make it easier. And we came up with this thing that I want to share. And so it was really kind of tied to what I'm calling the Goldilocks meal planning approach.
Ooh.
So it's what's that just right level for you, right? So if like planning out every single day and a shopping list and meals and how long they take and, you know, whatever, if that's like overload for you and you would never do that, kind of like me, then what does it look like for you when it's at the optimal level? And then what's one level just below that? And what's one level just below that? So you have a plan that you can navigate from no matter what energy or interest or motivation you have. You kind of go to your, you know what, I'm feeling like level 5 today, like really low. I'm not, I got to get through the week. What's my, you know, what do I do when it's level 5? So that can look different for all of us, but I wanted to share mine. So my ideal, my optimal level, my level 1, if you will, is a personal chef. I don't want to do any of it. I don't want to be involved. I don't even want to do the shopping. Like I literally, like my absolute ideal, if I could have it exactly what I want, is somebody else is bringing in the groceries for the ideal meals for the week, and they are cooking it, labeling it, telling me, yeah, just reheat this on, you know, whatever, and it's done. Okay. I'm shooting for this. I'm not there. That's kind of right up there with my Alice. That's why I always say I want an Alice, not like I want like a housekeeper, somebody that's going to like help with meals and cleaning, because I struggle with both tasks kind of equally. So my next level right below that is my husband cooking, which is a pretty good plan because he likes to cook and he does that a lot. And so we might pepper that with some like prepared meals. So he's not cooking every single night, or, you know, like whatever, depending on the situation. One level below that could be that we're, you know, eating out or ordering some food in or something. So I made a little chart for my optimal. So I started with optimal 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, level 1 being the lowest. So I just said it backwards, but I might change that now that I realize my brain kind of is perceiving it different ways. But my level 1 is my personal chef. Level 2 is kind of my personal chef, but it's my husband. After that, it's prepared meals, where I go to like Costco or Sam's Club and I buy their prepared meals, or like I used to go to like Whole Foods and they have them now. Yeah, exactly. Level below that would be like going to like sit down restaurants, Grubhub, that kind of thing. And then level below that would be like fast food, breakfast for dinner, like really easy, simple. Yeah. I say like I could have like peanut butter and jelly every night and I'm fine. I am not like a high maintenance kind of like, it's why I started intermittent fasting, because number 1, I hate dinner. I don't like having to think about it or make it. Exactly. So I'm just done with lunch. But then I realized I would need to kind of think about like, okay, so who's involved at these different levels? So you know me, I love a spreadsheet. So I started creating a spreadsheet, and I included like who does the planning, who's shopping, who's prepping, who's cooking, who's cleaning. And then I thought, okay, all of these ideas are interesting, but what's the cost for each? So I just did little, like, you can see I did little dollar signs to represent a ballpark, right? Because I don't know, it depends on where I'm getting it, depends on, you know, any restaurants all over the place, if you go to restaurants. And then I decided to make little dollar signs too for how healthy it was. I'm gonna change that to like smiley faces. But like if I'm eating like breakfast for dinner and fast food, that's like pretty low. So it just helps to remind me like, okay, if you're choosing that, there is a health implication tied to it, or there's a cost implication tied to it. So it's kind of, how do I balance where I am with what I can afford and what I want to do health-wise to support my body and my brain to be able to function at the optimal level. So it's just a tool I created to start connecting me to what is my Goldilocks meal prep level. And I'm just sharing that in case there's something in it that's sparkly for you to try if meal planning is a challenge in your life. If you have any other suggestions, things that work for you to make that easier, episode 130, guys, post it. Let us know. We all learn from each other.
Yeah.
All right. Now on to this topic. As I shared, it's episode 130, which is a 0 episode, meaning that it is a personal owner's manual POM focused episode. And today we're talking about what are your strengths? And I find this is one of the hardest questions, especially when I'm working with new clients. I'm like, so tell me, some things that you are good at, like, what are your natural strengths? What do you kind of just do easily without a lot of effort? And we'll resist acknowledging those things because it feels so easy that it's like, well, that doesn't take any effort, so I can't say that. Well, yeah, that's a strength. That literally is how strengths are defined. We have natural things that we're able to do with relative ease. It may have even been, if you're good musically, maybe you've trained for a while and that's a strength because you've put the work in. But it could also just be that you've just always been good at, like, my husband's like really good at directions.
Oh yeah.
Doesn't have to do anything, never studied maps or anything, just can, intuitively figure out, no, you're going to go left here. And I'm like, great, I'm always wrong. That's like one of my Seinfeld things. Do the opposite. If I go to the opposite, I'm probably 90% of the time not going to get lost. If I try to go the way my intuition tells me, I'm wrong. So that's not a strength for me. So I like to talk about strengths with humor because I find it just helps us connect to them and get out of our heads. I've noticed a lot of us will resist acknowledging a strength because it feels like we're patting ourselves on the back. We're kind of, boasting about things. No, strengths are what we need to tap into to thrive with ADHD. So acknowledging is really important. So when I saw the movie with Jumanji, I've shared this before, one of my favorite things was how when they tapped I think they tapped like their upper chest area, and it would pop up this like screen above their heads. It would show a list of their strengths and their weaknesses. And I just loved it because it was just so clear, because they were playing, in Jumanji, they get dropped into the game. And so they have to know what their strengths and their challenge, or their strengths and their weaknesses are. And I was like, oh my gosh, if it was only that easy for us to remember, like, okay, wait, what can I pull from? What are the things that I do well that I can bring to this so that I can get it across the finish line, instead of just avoiding it or getting overwhelmed or the negative self-talk of, I don't know why I thought I could do this. We can do anything if we do it our way, right? That's always the thing. So I'm holding up this picture that I took, that I made of myself, kind of in the Jumanji spirit, looking up with a list of my strengths and a list of my weaknesses. And I like to add to this, right? So it has a list of basic strengths, like I have honesty, reading, learning, zest, time management, using visual tools. Sleep is a strength for me, bravery. But my other thing that I always want to highlight is a list of strengths is just a list of words. If we don't have evidence for how does that show up as a strength for me? What do I mean? Like, especially when I see like zest and bravery, I'm like, what's that mean? Yeah, right? Like, I know I've used them before. I know I've been brave in the past, but when and how did it show up? So I like to write down evidence of it. And if I can, I like to have a picture of it. So I'm going to share a couple of pictures. And these are from my Expecto Patronum Journal, which is my visual success journal, where I take, and guys, I make this super, super easy. I take pictures with my camera. I print them on regular paper on my regular color printer, and I just slap them into my visual success journal, because I would expect myself to print it on photo paper. I am not going to stop and put photo paper in my, it's not going to happen. No. So I always say, do the easiest thing with the least resistance, so it happens, instead of like, oh, I would love to make a scrapbook and have, if that's you, absolutely do it. If that's not you and you feel resistant, do whatever you will actually do. Allow yourself to start from where you are. So this is an example of time management tools. And I've shared this picture before, that it's in a little sheet protector, because I literally pulled it out of my Expecto Patronum Journal, where I was tracking my yoga routine. Another celebration tomorrow, Becca, is 130 weeks in a row of Monday through Thursday yoga. Something I am, every time I'm still filling out these monthly calendars
Yeah.
every single week, or every single day, every single Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And this was from 2022. I still save these calendars. I fantasize about like putting them all over my front lawn and just like laying in the middle of them or something one day.
Like,
I don't know if I'll do it, but it's sparkly to think about because it does really hurt my head sometimes when I think about, I tried to do yoga for years before I ever started. And I mean, literally years.
Yeah.
Really should do yoga. It'd be great if I could come up. I bought mats. I tried everything. Nothing worked until I started tracking it and just allowed myself to do only Monday through Thursday and just I think I started with a 2-minute minimum, and then I was like, I just 5 minutes. Now I'm pretty much at a 10-minute minimum, but if I'm sick or something happens, I will give myself credit at 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So it's just allowing me to see that success and that strength of using the visual. I had them all on this wall behind me, and it was so sparkly. Every month I put a new one up there, and it was just so satisfying. Before it was my podcast corner. The next that I'm going to highlight is my love of learning. So I always said I wanted to learn how to knit. Again, for years and years and years, I wanted to learn how to knit for pretty much like 2 decades. And I tried multiple times. I tried to teach myself. I got the Complete Idiot's Guide to Knitting. I took classes. Nothing worked until I finally found a teacher who taught the way I needed to be taught. Literally, she came alongside me and sat and showed me, like, when I made a mistake, how to hold my hand so I didn't get in my head, and I was able to ask really quickly before I got frustrated. I asked for help. But I always wanted to learn how to knit socks. That was my goal in learning how to knit. I didn't realize that knitting socks was something that you had to knit for a while to get good enough at knitting to be able to knit socks, but I was still very motivated to do it. So I have a page in my book with the socks that I've knit. I've knitted sweaters, I've knitted different scarves.
Yeah, you're knitting.
I knit all the time, but socks are still my favorite thing that give me the most satisfaction, because it was the thing that pulled me in, that kept me going through all of those failures, if you will, it was the love of learning and my desire to continue learning. And my last example, and this one always fills me up with positive emotions when I see it, and it's the bravery and the zest one. So I'm even as I find some of these like very personal. So even as I hold this up and share it with you, if you're looking at this video, I'm uncomfortable with you seeing my zest one, because it's a little like, it feels uncomfortable to me because I am totally in the moment.
Right.
But it's evidence to me that, oh yeah, you were totally in that moment. So I participated in the talent show at the ADHD conference. And every year I'm there in person. I've been doing the talent show since then. And the first time I did it was 2017. And this one is from 2019. So this was my 3rd year of doing it. And my daughter did it with me that year because she wanted to. So I ended up doing 2 routines, one with her and one on my own. And so it's brave because I do not stand in front of people. I certainly do not perform things in front of people. Right. So the first was to the song Defying Gravity with my daughter, where we did that from Wicked. And the second I did Philadelphia Freedom by Elton John. And this picture is me and my zest, because I did it as a tribute to my dad, who had Parkinson's. And I was trying to dance like him to the song. And every time I hear that song, I think of my dad dancing. And it's a picture of me in the middle of trying to imitate him dancing, but I was so in the moment. I had my eyes shut. I was totally feeling it. And it's a fast song. Like I was totally in like a zesty kind of, and it just captured zest in a way that I was like, yeah, that is a strength. And I have evidence of it. So I encourage you, when you think about what your strengths are, where do they show up? How can you capture them? It could be writing them down, but remember, a picture is worth so much more than words. So if there's any way to get a picture of something that's a strength, having that to back it up, it just gives your brain that evidence, and it quiets down that voice. It's like, is that really a strength for you? Yeah, it is. Here, I can show you how and why that's a strength for me. So I encourage you, if this is something that's sparkly for you, it's a game changer when you not only understand what your strengths are, but you have a way to back it up with evidence, because then you literally are like, yeah, I absolutely did this. I made this. I cooked this. I decorated, whatever your strength is. You then can take that and be like, well, I did it over here. I know I can do it over here. Even if it's a different situation, it will let you step outside your comfort zone a little bit more easily if you have that evidence of what your strengths are. If there's anything else that you do to help you tap into your strengths, again, episode 130, would love to hear what strategies have worked for you to tap into your strengths so you're thriving. All right, on to this week's book of the week. Woohoo! I know. So this is from the book I finished. Have you heard of this one? This one's a new one.
The Women.
It's called The Women.
No.
It's by Kristen Hanna. I really do enjoy her books. I haven't read all of them, but I probably read
a few,
3 or 4 at least by now. I was a little nervous reading it because what I've noticed is she doesn't shy away from kind of like having like really sad endings for her characters. I'm
Yeah.
not going to tell you how this ends because that drives me absolutely insane. But what I didn't know anything about it. It was just recommended by somebody in my book club.
Yeah.
And I like kind of going into books with an author that I like without knowing anything about it. But I realized pretty quickly, but I guess the picture maybe should have told me. It's about Vietnam, which is interesting because I'm did you just I didn't at all.
It made me think,
but I think also because I had to read it in an ebook format the whole time because it was it's a new book. So I'm so far down on the list. I never got the physical book and I never even got the audio version. I had to read the whole thing in ebook. So I think that's also why I didn't connect at all because I really wasn't looking at the cover.
It's a popular book.
It's a very popular book. But so here's a synopsis. It says, The Woman is a story of one woman gone to war, but it shines a light on all women who put themselves in harm's way and whose sacrifice and commitment to their country has too often been forgotten. It's a novel about deep friendships and bold patriotism. The Woman is a richly drawn story with a memorable heroine whose idealism and courage under fire will come to define an era. So it's about the women who served in the Vietnam War as nurses and how when they came back, there was so much anti-war sentimentism and I cannot do that word right now. There was so much anti-war focus going on in the country that they were really not supported when they came back, but women weren't only not supported, they weren't even acknowledged by other veterans as having participated because women weren't allowed to serve in Vietnam. They're like, well, no. It's like, if you think of, if you ever watch MASH, it was kind of, they serve in she served in a MASH unit. And so it's, but you weren't actually in combat. Well, they were dealing with the aftermath of the combat and seeing everybody come in like missing limbs. It was just really, really well told. I pulled me up in the beginning, which is always for me, like something that is required when I'm reading a book. I have to get into it pretty quickly. And I had to read it really fast because I got it as a skip the line book.
So you only had
I had 7 days, which is plenty of time to read that book in, but I was finishing something else when I had to say yes, or it would go away. And so I didn't get to it till like day 4. And I was like, oh, I've got to finish this super fast. So it was a lot. I was like, my husband was like, aren't you going to bed? I'm like, no, it's going away at midnight. I literally had to sit up and finish it. So it was really good.
Oh.
So I do recommend that. There's a thumbs up to The Women.
The Women.
Check that out if that is a kind of book that interests you. And then finally, the quote of the week from Kevin Kelly is, curiosity is fatal to certainty. The more curious you are, the less certain you will be. Ooh. This is very resonates with me as a coach, because if I come in assuming I know everything about you or everything about what I'm hearing in terms of, why you're struggling in this area, I'm not really understanding what you need or what it looks like for you. So I love this reminder that, if you're certain, then you're not curious. If you're curious, then you're open to the possibility that there's another way, there's another reason, there's another solution. Just like with the meal planning, right? It's understanding like, oh, when somebody's like, what, maybe if I thought about an optimal levels, I'm like, oh, that is so good. Because that's what I love about collaborating with other people who have our brain wiring, is we all have our come froms, we all have our approaches. And if we have a chance to learn from each other, it allows us just to notice there's a piece to that that's really interesting. Just like what I took and I turned it into a spreadsheet because I immediately thought, oh, I love that idea. And I like the structure that it created in my brain, but I need to see it to be able to use it. And so I just like that. Curiosity is fatal to certainty, because if you're curious, you don't know. You just keep asking, tell me more. I'm curious to learn more about that. All right, that's it for this episode. As a reminder, if you think about meal planning with the Goldilocks approach, right? What's your just right? What's too much? What's too little? What's your just right Goldilocks level of meal planning? And then also strengths. If there's anything that you do to connect to or use your strengths with more ease, please post episode 130. We'd love to learn more about what works for other people. That's it for this episode. As always, take what works for you, leave the rest behind. And if you'd like more resources to support you to thrive with ADHD, I invite you to check out ADHD-Friendly. If you haven't already, ADHDfriendly.com. And if you haven't subscribed and you want to join our flip chart and be part of it flipping in our next episode, I invite you just to, go on over to YouTube, check out ADHD-Friendly and click subscribe. And for the 766 people who have done exactly that, Thank you. I really do appreciate you taking time to check it out and connect. And I hope to see you again next time. Until then, tally ho.